Hey everyone, and welcome back to OntarioCyrptids. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. It is Saturday as I'm recording these stories, and I can say it looks gorgeous outside. Once I'm done here, I will be stepping outside to get some sunshine, and I hope you all do the same. At least get some fresh air if it's not nice and sunny where you are. Today I will be sharing 3 stories with you all great and interesting in their own rights. I hope you all enjoy, and remember to give a big thumbs up to help spread today's episode to the masses. Now, go grab yourself a beverage, get cozy on the couch or chair, and sit back and relax. Okay, so this first story takes place on November the 5th of 1996, and it takes place in Deschutes County, Oregon, and the closest town is La Pine. I was driving home to Bend near Sunset, just south of La Pine on U.S. Highway 97 on November the 5th, 1996, when a hawk was flushed from the tree line ahead on my right. It flapped vigorously, headed southwards directly towards my car, crossed over it, and kept going. It was not gliding, it was accelerating. Seconds later, I saw a tall, rangy figure suddenly emerge from the cover of a tree line about 150 feet ahead on my right, and stride determinedly towards the road across a grassy fringe. As I slowed and closed the distance to within 50 feet, the figure, with no hesitation, stopping neither to look in the direction of my approaching car nor to gauge the speed and distance, glided the 2-lane in 4 strides and kept going directly into the cover of the pines on the other side of the road. I asked my wife if she had seen the person crossing the road. I wanted her opinion of what had transpired before expressing my own suspicions. Unfortunately, she said no, that she had been trying to follow the flight of the hawk behind a car. On immediate reflection, I realized I had seen something unusual, but could not say what exactly I had seen, nor can I say now what it was. But if it was a human being, it was a strange one. The figure seemed not just tall, but very tall. I would estimate close to 6.8 to 7 feet tall, based on the figure's height relative to the roof of my car. The length of the strides required to cross the road in just 4 strides would be quite large. Its actions did not seem typically human. It did not wait for its chance to cross at the roadside. It waited hidden in the tree line. When its chance came, it never slowed until hidden in the pines on the other side of the road. It didn't even turn towards me, though its efforts indicated it was aware and concerned by our car's approach. It didn't run or jog as a human might who is caught crossing the road in front of an approaching car. Its steps was well articulated, almost thoughtful, full heel-to-toe stride with a vigorous push-off. It moved briskly with a long swinging arc of the arms, a slightly stiff body lean with the head and trunk bent towards from the waist. The head was not bent at the neck. I saw no neck. The whole upper torso was bent from the waist. I have thought about the clothing. During the brief seconds I had seen the figure, the clothing appeared to be completely and uniformly dark top to bottom, without distinguishing characteristics. I could not identify the article of clothing, jacket, jeans, boot, gloves, etc., with one exception. The one article of clothing that I might have noted was perhaps a peak lumberjack cap with a fuzzy tassel. On reflection, I wonder if it might instead have been the oft-reported pointed head or skull. I think I know what you saw, and I don't think it was a bear, and I don't think it was a person. And we'll just leave it at that. Okay, now to story number 2. All right, so this next story takes place on November the 27th, 2003, and it takes place in Harrison County, Texas, and the nearest town is Harleton. I have a dog kennel where I raise and sell puppies. Every night when I get up out of bed to go to the bathroom, I look out my bedroom windows to check my kennels. My bathroom window looks out over my dog kennels, and I don't turn on my lights while doing this because it obstructs my view. I thought I was seeing things. There standing on the other side of the pens was a 7 to 8 foot hairy creature. The dogs were all in their houses as if cowering, and it was deathly quiet. He was standing facing the dog pen, at which point he turned to the east and walked about 3 steps. Then he turned to the north and stood there. That's when I went and got my mother. She saw it too, but not as clear as I. It stood there after my mom came in and then walked into the woods. My house is surrounded on 3 sides by woods. It is very secluded. Every night it is here and we are terrified. It screams often and my children have heard it. I know I sound like a fruitcake. I don't tell anyone because I feel like people will think I'm crazy. I'm buying motion lights to see if it will make him go away. If you know of any other methods to chase him away, please let me know. There is no man that lives here. He's here every night and we can hear him scream. I don't know if the neighbors have heard or seen anything, and I don't want to be made fun of. So here's a description. 7 to 8 foot tall. I couldn't see any facial features because of the light. There is a security light by the kennel, but it is not very good. His knees move like a person's, not a bear. He had hair all over him. His feet were large, and that's about the best description I can give. She also goes on to say that there's no footprints, just bushes bent and broke. A little fence around the cat's grave was bent down. Something screams occasionally, mostly at night, and it sounds like a woman blood-curdling loud with a little bit of a growl to it. We have caught whiffs of something awful from time to time. Wow, okay, so that is very interesting. I'm wondering why it keeps on hanging around her dog kennel. But in any case, great story. Now let's move on to story number 3. All right, so here is the last story of the day. This story has 2 different occurrences. The first one takes place May of 1969, and the second one takes place January of 1979. And this takes place in Kalamazoo County, Michigan. Let's get started. I have had several encounters with Sasquatch. I also believe it was the same both times, although the encounters were 10 years apart. The first encounter was when I was in the 2nd grade. I was born in 1963, so this was quite a few years ago. I was playing at a school playground in Kalamazoo, Michigan. My mother, teacher, and other students were also at the playground. The adults were setting up a picnic for the students. It was close to school ending for the summer holiday. I wandered off to a wooded area near the playground. It was a very peaceful and sunny day. I was picking up pine cones, etc., while moving through the woods. I was not paying attention to my surroundings and was looking down at the ground. I was stopped very abruptly when I physically ran into a Sasquatch. It was huge and towered over me, holding a large limb from a pine tree above. He was using his right arm to hold a tree branch. I was not afraid because I did not know as a child that this was an unusual thing. I just thought it was natural to see such a thing in the woods. He stood on two legs. His face had expressions. First expression was surprise or anger. His second face calmed quickly to a gentle, almost observant glance. To see his face, I had to turn my head straight up as if looking at the sky. His skin had a tawny reddish hue, and his body and face head was covered in a deep chocolate hair or fur. He stood looking at me for a long time, and I did not move. I did not notice any odd odor. He was very quiet, and his eyes were very gentle. I sensed he understood I was a child. He turned to his left, releasing the branch of the tree he was holding with his right hand. He walked away from me in long, strong strides. The branch he was holding swung loudly overhead. It was a very tall tree, and the lowest branch was several feet over my head. My second encounter happened when I was 16 years old. I was at my family home sitting on the front porch waiting for a friend to pick me up to go out for the evening. It was winter time. There was snow on the ground, and this encounter took place in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I heard a low guttural growl coming from the side of the house. My parents were not home, and it was dark outside. Our house is completely surrounded by woods. I heard large, heavy stepping, something with great weight moving slowly along the house to where I was sitting. I sensed it was a large animal. I stood up and walked off the porch and headed down the driveway towards the neighbor's home. I remember I started to sing softly to myself. The growling, knocking, walking noises stopped. Once I had made it down the driveway, my friend pulled up in her car. I could see her looking at something on the side of our house. When I opened the car door, I looked back at the house and saw a large figure peeking around the corner of the house. I recognized him as the same creature I had seen when I was a child. With that recognition, I did not feel afraid. I felt almost relieved. The next day, there were large footprints in the snow coming out of the woods alongside my family's home. The footprints traveled to the front of the house, around the dogwood tree, and then down the front yard. My parents had someone come in to analyze the prints, and they were told the prints were not a hoax, but made by something or someone very large with much weight. It was winter time, and there was deep snow on the ground. The prints were very clear, and the snow beneath the print was particularly icy, as if heat from the foot itself had melted the snow. I never told my parents about these encounters until a couple of years ago, when they finally informed me that they had seen the footprints in the snow back in 1979 and called someone to take a look at them. I'm a dancer choreographer. I grew up not only dancing at the studios, but also dancing in my parents' living room that has a large window that looks out to the woods in the back of the house. I have often felt something was watching me from the woods. I never felt frightened of it, though. Maybe because I believe humans are far more frightening than Sasquatches. I'm sure I have experienced visits from the same Sasquatch. In a way, I feel rather protective of the whole species because I believe he was protective of me growing up. Wow. What an encounter. That would have made her 6 years old when she first bumped into the Sasquatch. Very interesting. I understand the attraction there. You know, a Sasquatch seeing a little girl dancing and gets curious and wants to check things out. But it would appear that it would have followed her from the point, if it's the same one, from the point that she bumped into him. In any case, very interesting story. I love stories which are heartwarming and warm instead of, frightening Sasquatch stories. That is going to mark the end of today's stories. If you have an encounter that you would like to share, please go ahead and forward your encounter stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com, and I would be more than happy to tell your story. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. Don't forget to hit that like button, and make sure you guys head outside and enjoy the nice weather. I don't know how long it's going to be lasting for. At least I know in TO it is going to be nice. Maybe not so much tomorrow when you guys are hearing this, but today it is absolutely gorgeous. So on that note, guys, I am going to go outside and get some beautiful sunshine. So stay safe, and we will see you all next week.